Hello and welcome back to Just Code It. Today we're going to be going a bit deeper on LangGraph and human-in-the-loop agents. Today we're going to build a prompt enhancer / chat. You would give it a prompt like, what is Ollama? It's improving the prompt, and then it will give you the improved prompt right here. And you can either press 1 to approve it or press 2 to type in an edited version of this. Let's just approve it, and then we get the answer. Or we run it again. What is Ollama? Then if we give it 2. Oops, sorry, 2 is just, I actually messed that up. What is Ollama used for? What the app does is allows you to either use approve, or that's the human feedback, the enhanced prompt, or enter in a new prompt just by typing out the new prompt, and then it will use that one instead of the enhanced prompt if you just didn't like the enhanced prompt. Let's just jump right into actually coding this thing. To begin, we're just going to set up our LLM. We're going to use Ollama, and then we're going to use the model Phi 4 mini, and then temperature of 7. Another thing you could do is you could have 2 different models, one for enhancing the prompt and one for answering the question. You could use a smaller model to enhance the prompt because that's not super intensive, and use a bigger model for actually answering the question. We're just going to use the same here. After setting up the LLM, we're then going to create the prompt state, which is just the initial state of the LangGraph. What it has in it is the original prompt, which is going to be a string, a optional improved prompt, which is a string, a final prompt, which is also a string, then final answer, which is a string, and then step just to keep track of where we are in the graph structure. After creating the prompt state, we're now going to move on to the call LLM. What call LLM does is calls the LLM. It starts out with a list of empty messages, and then from there we prepare. From that list of messages, we then add our system message, which we haven't created yet, but we pass it in right here, our system message, and then we add our prompt, which is the question. We're adding 2 messages right there. Finally, we just invoke the message and get the response content, just the text back from the message, or response, sorry. Next, we have the improved prompt node. You could also do this improved prompt node as a tool, but for simplicity's sake, we're just going to add it as a node. If you wanted to add it as a tool, you could then use the LM to decide if it should improve the prompt or not. What this does is creates our system message, which is just our message to set up the LLM to improve the prompt. Then we're going to call our LLM with the original prompt up here, state original prompt, and then the system message. Finally, we're going to return the updated state, which has the improved prompt, and then the step is going to be prompt improved. After we create the improved prompt node, let's actually zoom this out a little bit. We have the human review node. What this does is now it's going to pause the application at this interrupt and pass and ask the user with the original prompt and the improved prompt, and waits there until the human returns back with either the yes, approve that prompt, or gives it a new prompt that would overtake or just not use the improved prompt. After getting the human response, we then check to make sure there is an instance of the human response. If there is, we get the edited prompt with a default as the improved prompt. Then the action would be human action, and then default is approved. After that, we have an else, just for a catch-all, where we are going to handle the direct string input. That would be the second input, where you can input a edited prompt or just give it a prompt that overwrites the improved prompt. Finally, we're returning the state with updating the final prompt and the step to human reviewed. After that, we have our answer prompt node. This is the node that handles our final answer, where we take the enhanced prompt or the edited prompt and pass it into the LLM and get the final response. Now, the system message for this is a bit different than the previous one because we're not creating an enhanced prompt, and we pass that into our call LLM and we return the final answer, and the step is completed. Now that we are all done with creating our nodes, we're going to construct our app. How we do this is create a builder, which is a state graph with the starting state set to prompt state. We're going to add our nodes. We're going to have the improve node, and then we are going to give it that method above, improve prompt node. Then human review is the review node, and then answer prompt is the prompt node from above. Then we're going to draw some edges. We're going to draw an edge from start to improve node, and then improve node to human review to answer to end. There's no conditional edges. It just flows straight through. That's why I was saying you could make this more complex by adding a conditional edge here where if the human reviewer edits, it sends it back to the improved prompt and improves it again and sends it to human review. For simplicity's sake, we're just having it do a straight through with no real decisions being made. Next, we're going to have a check pointer, which is memory saver. Remember, when we're doing these human in the loops, we need to pause the application. And to do that, we need a memory saver. The memory saver is added, and then it returns the app. Finally, we have our main method, which is the apps loop. When we run it, it runs in the terminal, and this is the entry point for it. It starts out by creating the app. Then it creates a unique thread ID to manage the conversation. Here, we're going to use UUID4 to create that thread ID. After that, we're going to have an input to grab the initial prompt ID or initial prompt from the user. And then we're going to set a default prompt. If you just hit enter and you don't give it a prompt, it will have a default prompt of tell me about machine learning. After getting that input prompt, we're then going to define the initial state to start the graph. The initial state is going to be original prompt and then pass it the user prompt. And then the step is going to be starting. We're going to print a few things. And then we're going to come down here and set results equal to the app.invoke, which is initializing that app and sending the initial state, which is up here, and the config, which has the thread ID in it, to the app and kicking it off. After starting the app, we then check to see if an interrupt is there. What this does is checks to see if the interrupt has been initiated in the results. And if it has, we now know that we want to ask for more input from the human. Here we have just some print showing the improved prompt, original prompt, and down here we have our two options, hit enter to approve or type. Now, if you move down here, this is where we update the session state, where we're either going to pass it back the action of edit or action of approve. And then when it's action of edit, we're going to pass it the user prompt and update that in the user state. Finally, we're going to invoke again using the command where we pass back. Remember what command is. One or more commands that update the graph state. Here, we're updating the graph state with either action to edit and edited prompt to user prompt or action to approve. That will then kick the app out of that pause state that it's in and continue running. Finally, we get that response where we're grabbing the final prompt and the final answer and printing it to the screen. The last thing we're doing is if name equals main and starting up the app. To start, let's just see if we can run this thing. Now we can say nothing and it will do the machine learning, and then let's just hit enter and it's going to give it that generated prompt and our final result. Looks like that worked fine. Now let's run it again and test out what is Ollama, and then let's ask it something weird like where is Ohio? Now it should only ask us where is Ohio. Yep. That overwrote the improved prompt like we wanted. The final thing we want to look at is give it a prompt to begin. Let's do what is Ollama again. It's going to improve the prompt. Yep, it did. and hit enter again, and it's going to use that improved prompt to give us a final answer. Cool. Looks like the app's working correctly. That is it though for this Human in the Loop tutorial series. If you have any questions, please comment down below. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you next time.